Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Nicole Sauce's Thought of the Walk, episode 25. We're a quarter of a century into this thing. It's pretty cool. Anyway, I'm not on a walk right now because, well, my microphone that hooks into my cell phone camera is out of batteries, and I tried to charge it last night, but there's two pieces and one charger, and to make a long story longer, well, half my microphone is now charged. So I thought I'd just do this in my normal studio at the desk after my walk. And my walk was cut short today because something happened that was urgent and somebody nearby needed help. And so I walked a little bit with the dog, had some thoughts about the topic of self-determination, and then got that text and cut my walk short. That means later today I get to go on a walk that is the actual size of the walk I'm supposed to go on at 6:30 in the morning. And that's the result of me making a decision to take care of a friend in a time when they needed some help rather than take care of myself by getting my walk in. And it's related to self-determination. Self-determination is something I've been thinking about a lot lately, and that just basically means that you make your decisions for yourself as best you can, and you work through any consequences that happen as a result of the decisions you make. And this is something that our society is walking away from. That expectation that we can determine our path forward and work through the consequences as they come. This is how life works, in my opinion. But particularly around the jab, as people are talking about that, I'm seeing a lot of, I want my decisions or things to be determined for me and other people to deal with the consequences. Society to deal with the consequences. The collective to deal with the consequences of what happens to me. And in order to have no responsibility for outcomes of things that happen in my life, I also give up the control or the right to make the decisions. I'm willing to sign away my rights to make decisions so that other people have to take care of me. This is a slippery slope. It's actually why collectivism isn't going to work. It never works. It always fails because you end up with the collective making decisions for individuals. And then when consequences happen, the collective making decisions not to take care of individuals. Sure, they'll take care of some, but the marketing allure of a collective approach under this guise of greater good is that the majority of people can make the best decisions for the individuals for a long-term success of all. The problem with this approach is that it's heartless and it's cruel. And the reason it's heartless and cruel is that when the collective makes the decisions, the best decisions that they think they can make for society, they stop caring for the minority. And in this case, we'll go to the biggest minority or the smallest minority, the individual. And it's really easy to look at a chart, and if there's 100 people on this chart and the decision will be good for 80 of the 100, and this other decision will only be good for 50 of the 100, the decision may be made to take care of the 80 of the 100. However, that means that 20 minorities get the shaft. We don't care about you. We're willing to trade your well-being or your life for the 80. And from the outside, analytically, that feels good. But it might not feel good, and it's not that simple. Because when they look at the problem, they take their understanding or their data from what they have access to. And what can happen is that there are agendas underneath how that information is presented. Different agendas that different people have, and the information we just may not know, right? We're just taking a guess a lot of the time. Like climate change data, they're taking a guess at what's going to happen with the climate, And if you look at their history over the last 20 years, they haven't been very good at predicting it. That the same goes for a lot of things where we think, okay, as a result of this decision for society, this is the good or the bad outcome. On larger scale, your accuracy tends to go down about the outcome. So then people are making decisions on inaccurate information that is agenda driven, because some people want certain outcomes that may or may not be best for many of us on this planet. And at the core of it all, when you take away self-determination from people, you take away that selfish motivation. And selfishness has been vilified, but really, when you're selfish about taking care of yourself and your family, what does that mean you do? That means the environment around you, you want it to be good for yourself and your family. And then that means you know that the world is complicated, and so you want your community to be strong. And as we have more self-determination, we tap into the majority of people who want the best. And I even find that some of the people pushing collectivism want the best. They're just mistaken on what the outcomes are. And if you look at history of where collectivism ends, time after time after time after time after time, millions of people die. Lots of people are harmed under the guise of good intentions because they're making decisions for the collective in a collective pooling of decision making, or ceding the responsibility of it to an expert who may or may not really be an expert, right? To an authority. And the best decisions are not made. And they're oversimplifying things. So you make one decision for everybody, one size fits all for a country the size of the United States, and you totally ignore weather differences, food growing differences, cultural differences, physical differences, access to supply differences, all of those things that are hyper regional. When you ignore those in a decision that's one size fits all, you have a problem. We see this in education, right? We have collective control of education for the children in the government and or public education system. And when you have a kinesthetic learner, which is somebody who learns by physically manipulating things, come into that environment, they are often not well served, because our education system, while yes, I've had teacher training, and yes, I'm supposed to address all the learning styles, the comfort zone is for those who learn visually. That's how a lot of lessons are set up. And we are trained to do audio, visual, and kinesthetic. We're trained to take care of that, but that doesn't mean we're good at it, right? So your kinesthetic learners are more likely than anybody else to get left behind, and they're the smallest percentage of your learners who learn in that way. And then we put political agendas into how the collective education happens. We have infighting, all of these other things. And what has happened, if you look at what's happened to how well educated our children are in the collective system, it goes down each decade. Well, that shouldn't be acceptable. But if we add some self-determination back into that system, meaning we empower families to take responsibility and make the decisions of education for their children, most parents want their children to do better than they did. It's a thing. I know we can deny any biological link or drive, or we can talk about the real basket case parents that exist, right? Those do exist. They are a small percentage. Most parents want things that are better for their children. Even your meth addicted parents want a better life for their children most of the time. If we allow self-determination where parents can help their children get linked with the best education that they think is best for their children, suddenly you're more likely to have better outcomes. And then we can work as a community to address the smaller percentage of children being left behind. But If we go one size fits all, or what's worse in our country, it's one size fits all based on your zip code, we're leaving behind a bunch of kids. We're leaving behind the middle. The middle. These are the kids who are like me in school, right? What I needed in my learning environment growing up, because I wasn't just one of those kids who's going to go and I'm voracious and I'm going to learn, I'm going to teach myself and all this. I needed a little bit of motivation. I needed to suffer negative consequences if I didn't get stuff done. I needed teachers willing to work with a kinesthetic learner, as a matter of fact. Yeah, I'm one of them. That's why I know what it is. And I needed a little extra structure, but also flexibility to be able to follow my curiosity. And the government schools were not set up for that. They were not. The only reason I didn't get left behind, I don't know why I didn't get left behind. I think it's because I had this job scooping ice cream at Baskin & Robbins when I was a teenager, and I developed tennis elbow in my right arm. And so I started scooping ice cream with my left arm. It started getting tennis elbow with my left arm. This was my sophomore year, like summer after my sophomore year in high school. And at that point, I had failed a lot of classes. And I was like, you know what, Self, you're going to have this kind of a job for the rest of your life if you don't buck up and learn some stuff and figure it out. And I went back to school for my last 2 years of school and got mostly A's and B's and got into college. And at that time, college was not a big student loan debt problem because I'm old. And I got out of college with less than $4,000 in debt with help of my family. And I learned skills along the way that allowed me to continue learning in life and make my way. It was because I got tennis elbow at a job when I was like 15 years old. Self-determination. I'm the one who solved the problem. But think about that everywhere else in your life. And if you think about the jab, the chatter I'm seeing now is if you don't get it, it's your fault that I get sick, even though I've had it, because apparently the thing doesn't work. And then if it doesn't work, why are we getting it, right? So there's that. It's like flawed logic. And I understand 95% effective, but I think they're going to find out it's less than 95% effective. And then they've been really cloak and dagger about how the thing works. And I will tell you that I don't know how it works. I will tell you that I've been trying to learn how it works to make a decision about it. And because it's so difficult to find valid and balanced information on it on either side, I cannot make a decision. Therefore, the answer is no. That's how I approach life, right? Well, it does appear that what this thing does is train your body to fight it. That means that your body's being trained to fight it, which means it still gets it. You just don't know you had it. And this is something that also is asymptomatic in a lot of people. So that was already sort of happening. And what we're seeing now is like the super scary new variety that could be a scare tactic, or it could be a result of bodies being trained to fight it and a mutation happening that gets through that defense system. I don't know. I honestly don't know what's going on, but I know I have self-determination, and it is my right to make decisions about what I do to myself. And I don't care if you're worried about the fact that it's not approved for your kids who are under 12. So I need to get it to protect your kids. I'm not seeing your kids. I'm not seeing your kids. I'm going to take care of myself and my family and those around me. And I think the best decision I can make right now is to wait and see. That's the way it is. That's my self-determination in action. And we still live somewhere where self-determination is important. And guys, as we get more pressure for the greater good on this, you need to stick up for self-determination. You need to be strong enough to make the best decision for you and your family and your community. And if the decision you made is the opposite of mine, I support you in making that decision. That's your decision to make, right? And that's why self-determination at the core of a society is important. And you cannot have self-determination without consequences. You just can't. You know, that decision I made last week to take most of the week off from what I usually do, means that this week I have a schedule where every 30 minutes is something from 6 in the morning till 6 at night. And what's really going to happen this week is stuff's going to come up that derails me from that, and I'm not going to get everything done. But I have the roadmap, and I will build other things in later. I can see what didn't get done, and I can move that block, right? But the result of taking last week off, even though I did work, means that I have a better perspective on where my time is best invested right now, which means that half-hour thing. I know which things really have to happen. It's color-coded. The things that really have to happen on each day versus the penciled-in items that I would like to have happen. And due to that, that will result in me being more successful going into the fall in selling coffee, in expanding the size of the podcast, in building this Thought of the Walk thing up, in all of the things that are very important, and in making time for myself to spend time with my plants, with my animals, finishing the remodel of my bathroom, all of these things that are so important. So as you move forward and think about self-determination, think about what that means. I think John Willis actually once asked me when I was asking him advice on a business decision, why do you need my advice? Like, go make the decision for your business, Nicole. And he's right. I do seek advice from people over time for different things, but at the end of the day, I'm the one who makes the decision. It doesn't matter what he thinks about my coffee business, right? It matters what I think about my coffee business. I have the access to the most deep data on how to make this decision. And if I make the wrong one, well, I'm not going to sell as much coffee. That's what happens. It is what it is. Self-determination. This fits in so many places in our lives, from relationships we're having or problems we're having with our spouses or kids, to work drama, to church drama, to community drama, all the drama. If you have drama in your life, look at the drama, think about self-determination, and think about, what am I doing to change it? It doesn't mean the drama just goes away, right? But it does mean that you can see a path forward to get rid of it if it's not what you want. And if it is what you want because you think drama is fun, which a lot of people do, and that's fine, that's your choice, then embrace that and go with it, right? Hope you enjoyed this Thought of the Walk. If you did, like, follow, share it with friends. And if you're interested in hearing more about homesteading, small business entrepreneurship, and other fun stuff, I do have an audio podcast. Comes out Monday, Wednesday, Friday. They're about 45 minutes to an hour long. You can check that out too on any podcaster that's catcher that's living free in Tennessee, or go to livingfreeintennessee.com and you can just play them straight from the website. Okay, guys, you know what I'm going to say, right? Make it a great week.